Everyone starts panicking looking at all the statues moving together now. Joohee gets too scared to even look at the scene, so Jinwoo says, "Do not close your eyes, they will come closer if you stop looking at them." One of the female hunter gets too scared and she makes a run for the open door without thinking. But somehow she makes it out, as none of statues try to stop her. Looking at that, Jinwoo thinks, how is that possible? The blue flames go out after some time passes. Number of red flames correspond to the number of people standing here. One went out as soon as a person left the altar. The doors opened as all of the red flames lit up. They close a little every time a red flame goes out, which means the doors will completely close when all of them go out. After that, one more hunter who was supporting Jinwoo gives into the situation, throwing Jinwoo and runs out of the door. Jinwoo yells, "Do not move, if any more of us leave and a blind spot is created, we will all die." Mr. Songs asks Jinwoo to explain what is going on. And Jinwoo says, "The blue flames act like a timer. Everyone will be able to make it out once all of the flames go out." Mr. Kim says, "But there is still a chance the doors will shut once time runs out." As Mr. Kim praises Jinwoo as he played such an active role despite being the weakest hunter, Mr. Kim starts crying thinking about his family. And he drops his sword and runs away too, saying thanks to Jinwoo. He starts crying and thinks, "You running away will get us all killed here." After that, we see Mr. Song saying, "I think I understand the rules now. You guys should leave, the doors will not shut if one of us stays behind, right? You guys are still young, so you should be the ones to get out." As he tells Joohee to give Jinwoo a hand. She falls to the ground crying and saying, "My legs cannot move." So Jinwoo tells Mr. Song to take Joohee and leave. Joohee is against this idea. Jinwoo says, "I promise to treat you to a meal, right?" and gives her that small core he found earlier and says, "If I make it out, I will come to get the change first thing." Mr. Song knocks Joohee out saying, "Sorry, but I do not think we have more time to spare." They said their goodbyes. Mr. Song starts to leave. Jinwoo thinks to himself, "What a relief, I am the only one who has to die." His eyes fall onto a sword beside him. He grabs the sword thinking, "I am gonna take at least one of you down with me," as all of the statues starts surrounding him. One statue attacks Jinwoo with a spear, impaling him in the chest, and throws him in the air, making his left side completely cut open. As he falls onto the altar all bloodied up, he wishes to not die like this, if he could have just one more chance. One of the statues swings his blade at Jinwoo. But as the last blue flame goes out, some change starts to happen, everything freezes. And a notification pops up. You have met all the requirements to complete the secret quest, Courage of the Weak. Jinwoo hears a voice in his head saying, "You now qualify to become a player. Do you accept? If you decline, your heart will stop in 0.02 seconds. Jinwoo thinks, "If I accept, does that mean I will not have to die?" And with his last breath, Jinwoo says, "All right, make me a player." And his body starts glowing, and with a bright light, everything disappears. Jinwoo wakes up in a hospital thinking, if all of that was a dream. Two guys in suits walk up to him saying, "We are from Hunters Association Surveillance Team, we want to talk to you." They tell him he has been asleep for 3 days. Jinwoo gets surprised and asks about Joohee and Mr. Song. They tell him that those guys are safe, but Mr. Song might have to retire because of the arm he lost. And Joohee is heavily traumatized, they might not continue to work as hunters. Then the guy in suit says, "Only 6 people survived the double dungeon. By the time we all reached there, everything was gone already. We only found you in the dungeon." Jinwoo yells that is impossible, and the suit guy says, "We are in disbelief as well. All the survivors' stories match, and we also found body parts of the deceased hunters there. This is just our guess, but we think you may have undergone a second awakening." Jinwoo gets shocked hearing that. As the guy brings up a mana meter to test that theory thinking, Jinwoo was the last survivor, it's only natural we suspect him of reawakening. But to his surprise, meter shows a reading of only 10. Making him think, even the weakest hunters score at least 70, and he says, "We have taken too much of your time." As those guys leave, Jinwoo thinks, did this thing not bother those guys, as he looks at a notification in front of him, thinking, I guess they cannot see this thing. As he confirms that his broken leg and ripped chest has been healed back. As he was trying to figure out things, a voice says, "Jinwoo, you just woke up, what are you doing? Don't tell me you hit your head too," as a girl enters the room. This is Jinwoo's little sister. As she starts yelling at him for always getting hurt, Jinwoo thinks, I cannot believe I was going to die and leave her behind. Jinwoo asks his sister if she can see this notification, but she declines, and Jinwoo says, when you have an in-game message, how do we read it? His sister replies, in games you just have to open the message box. And it enables him to read the message. As many notifications start to appear, Jinwoo thinks, I remember seeing something similar when I was left alone on the altar. He notices a message saying, Daily Quest, train to become a formidable combatant. As he opens the message, a list of tasks is shown. Jinwoo just gets back to his bed saying, I will figure this out after I get some sleep. But he forgets to read the most important part of the message. If the daily quest remains incomplete, penalties will be given accordingly. As the time for daily quest completion expires, a notification comes, you failed. You will be transferred to the penalty zone for an allotted amount of time. Everything starts shaking. As Jinwoo tries to make sense of the situation, he finds himself in a desert. A monster suddenly shows up from behind. As Jinwoo was looking at it, a notification pops up, penalty quest goal, survive for the allotted time. We see Jinwoo. He has been running away from the giant monster for a while to avoid becoming a snack in the desert, as the monster comes to close almost about to eat Jinwoo, and Jinwoo gets transported back to the hospital room. A notice appears saying, penalty quest has been completed. A message appears for the reward for completing the quest, but Jinwoo is too weak to respond. A nurse comes into the room only to find Jinwoo unconscious on the ground. Now we see Jinwoo running in thinking, it has been 4 days since he came back, so now he is aware of a couple of things, but those notifications are not an illusion. He chooses status recovery as a reward for daily quest completion. This skill relieves any fatigue from exercising. Other options include ability points to boost my stats. It is like playing a computer game and feels blessed as he smiles saying, I have no clue how all this happened. Then we see him asking to leave the hospital for a few hours to take care of some important business. We see Jinwoo standing at the entrance of a subway with a key in his hand saying, it's time to figure out what this is. Its description says, this key enables you to enter an instance dungeon, usable at Hapjeong Station, Exit 3. Jinwoo starts thinking, the fact that I am able to see these strange features mean I had a second awakening. As he grabs the key tightly he says, if I'm right about this, I should be strong enough for this. If this gets dangerous, I will make a run for it. As he uses the key, magical energy starts leaking from the gate. As Jinwoo enters that, the way he came from suddenly disappears. As a woman passes him by, he realizes that he is in a different dimension and starts panicking because now he cannot run away from this. A notice appears. You cannot leave unless you defeat the boss or use teleportation stone. Jinwoo thinks to himself, not too long ago, I was struggling to fight E-rank magic beasts, now I have to clear this dungeon by myself. As Jinwoo notices the cold aura coming from the path ahead, he starts to get scared a little now. As Jinwoo starts walking inside the dungeon, he comes across beast-type monster Steelfang Leekan and thinks, I can barely take on a couple of goblins, will I be able to win this? Wolf attacks Jinwoo but he dodges it and thinks, I cannot get hurt, I do not have a healer with me. As he keeps evading he notices his body feels light. As Jinwoo refuses to die, he gathers his courage and punches the wolf, making it fly to the wall. Jinwoo notices some changes in himself and thinks, is this because I raised my strength stats? But that thing is still stronger, as he sees the wolf getting back up. Jinwoo tries to attack the monster but it does no damage. He keeps evading and attacking the wolf and thinks, only if I had a weapon. He realizes something and yells, inventory, and pulls out a sword, slicing the monster in half. This was the sword Mr. Kim left behind in Double Dungeon. A notification appears saying, Jinwoo has leveled up. 2 more wolves appear in front of Jinwoo, but his sword gets stuck on the floor. As the wolves comes too close, Jinwoo manages to pull out the sword, attacking one wolf, but the other one catches the word with its steel fangs. Jinwoo kicks the wolf, pulls the sword out yelling, I just got this sword, I am not gonna let you break it, and rips the wolf to pieces. Jinwoo says, as he holds a bloody sword, now I see, compared to those stone statues, you guys are totally weak. Other wolf gets scared and disappears. Jinwoo looks at his stats window and realizes that, All of his stats go up by 1 point every time he levels up. And he has a chance at becoming stronger. These monsters do not give essence stones, instead they drop items. There is a shop too, but Jinwoo's level is too low to use it right now. Jinwoo sells the dropped item for 20 gold in the shop. Jinwoo thinks to himself, I cannot leave without defeating the boss. Maybe if I level up enough, it will be possible. A group of wolves appear, all aiming for Jinwoo. He stands up and says, I am not afraid because I have already died once. The fight begins. Jinwoo swings his sword to attack the beasts. He kills few of them, but finds himself surrounded. Jinwoo starts fighting with everything he has got. As he starts killing many beasts, he keeps leveling up again and again. Jinwoo starts getting a little tired and thinks about his family. If he dies here, he will end up losing everything. He can't keep hiding in the shadows like a weakling. He will follow any ridiculous rules if it means he can also become stronger. He charges again to fight the beasts and clears that area. He starts looking around and finds an even bigger group of wolves coming out of shadows. As he prepares himself for another round, a notice appears. You have gained the title, Wolf Assassin. With this title, Jinwoo's abilities will now be increased by 40% against beast-type monsters. Jinwoo checks his inventory and finds few items there with a teleportation stone. He thinks about leaving, but he also knows if he will ever get the chance to boost his powers like this again. After thinking about it for a while, Jinwoo puts the teleportation stone back and starts going deeper. As he keeps fighting with monsters and levels up a lot, he thinks, every time I level up, fighting against these beasts becomes easier. I can feel myself getting stronger. After fighting these beasts for a while, Jinwoo realizes that these monsters fight with a set pattern. If I can figure that out, I can anticipate where they are coming from. Monkeys jump down from above, and cats flank from the left and right one at a time. After learning the pattern, Jinwoo starts killing them one by one. One wolf jumps in the air to attack, and Jinwoo slices it in 2 pieces. When he looks at the name tag of the beast, he thinks, the label of each beast changes color based on how strong they are. White is relatively weak, orange is the same level or stronger, and red means they are significantly stronger. These lichens were orange, but now it's white. I must have gotten stronger. Still, I might not be able to defeat the boss. Jinwoo's sense stats have increased, so he can be sure the beast lurking down there is a monster. As he was not gaining any more levels here and his sword was on the verge to be broken, he cannot waste time here, and started walking down the stairs to the boss room. As he entered the area, he is surprised that the station looked totally different. He suddenly notices something running towards him. Jinwoo tries to block the attack but gets thrown back to the wall, and notices that his sword is broken. As he tries to stand up, he says, I thought I leveled up quite a bit, but the label of the boss is still written in orange, as he stands in front of a giant snake. Jinwoo looks at the skin of the boss and thinks that sword attacks would not work against those scales. Simple punches would not work either. Snake leaps for an attack. Jinwoo tries to break down its defenses while it was attacking him, but those scales are too thick to be damaged. Snake keeps attacking, and Jinwoo tries to defend himself, as he might die if he gets directly hit. Snake uses its body and speed to attack Jinwoo. This fight was taking its toll on his body. But he still grabs his broken sword, and starts swinging it. He thinks about his weak past and the urge to overcome it, as he tries to stay alive and thinks that people will betray you in the face of power. That is why I must become stronger. Snake attacks with its tail, throwing Jinwoo into the wall. As Jinwoo tries to stand back up with a single thought of becoming stronger, a strange aura starts coming out of his body. As he continues to dodge those deadly attacks, he thinks, compared to the statue of that god, you do not scare me. Jinwoo jumps towards the snake. Lands attack on one side. Snake tries to bite him. Jinwoo steps back, drops the sword, and grabs the snake by the neck. He has poured everything into his strength stats. He uses the boost to crack the snake's scales. It tries to get rid of Jinwoo, but Jinwoo does not lose his grip. With a single thought of killing this monster, and overcoming his fear, he finally snaps the snake's neck and says, I guess this means I have become a little stronger, right? He gets 2 item drops, snake's venom gland, and a dagger made with that snake's fang.